So I just watched Bring Her Back, and guys, this was probably one of the most disturbing horror movies I've seen in a while. Hello everyone, and welcome to my review of Bring Her Back, one of A24's newer horror movies about, well, it's in the title really. A mom wants to bring her dead daughter back to life. A part of me feels like it's almost a spoiler to say that, but I don't know, it's in the title, so is it really? I don't think so. Now, I want to say this real quick. I feel like I always have some side note to say before all these videos. I am a huge A24 fan, so I went into this movie with extremely high hopes and expectations. I'm especially a fan of their horror movies. Shoot, one of my favorite horror movies of all time came from them. They don't really ever miss, bro. And this movie is no exception. So let me stop yapping and get right into why I think this movie is great. And as usual, minor spoilers. So you know how this goes. Good first, bad after. So I feel like I have to mention the cinematography first, which I pretty much never do because it feels out of order to me structure-wise, but my brain wants to get this out of the way early because it's what's on my mind. There are some really cool fucking shots in this movie, man. Pretty ones and creative ones. They make the movie feel so unsettling, which is awesome since, you know, bringing your deceased child daughter back from the dead with voodoo wasn't disturbing enough as is. There's this one shot that I remember particularly well where the mother character is looking at a kid through a glass door and her hand is all bloody from an earlier scene. And she draws bloody circles on the door while they look at each other and the camera tracks her hand. Honestly, explaining it doesn't do it justice. You'd have to just see how awesome it is yourself. I love when movies get creative like this with their shots, bro. And the lighting is really nice most of the time. Even the dark scenes aren't too dark. A habit I feel like horror movies have too often nowadays. Dark doesn't mean scary, bro. Come on. I'm getting distracted. Also, see, like, this is what I'm talking about. I mentioned the cinematography first and therefore didn't have my characters identified correctly before and had to say mother character and kid. I'm a dumbass. Let's go back to having some structure. So I really like the characters in this movie. There are only like 4 important ones, but they do a damn good job of making me care about all of them. Or absolutely fucking hate them. Basically, to briefly explain the plot of this movie, a 17-year-old boy named Andy and his younger sister Piper live with their father, who dies suddenly and tragically in his shower, forcing the kids into foster care. They get adopted by a woman named Laura, who already has a son at home named Oliver, or Ollie. This kid is a little creepy and completely mute, but he's cute, I guess. Andy and Piper were originally meant to get separated from one another once adopted, but Piper really didn't want that, so Andy instead proposed that he take responsibility of her when he turns 18 in a few months. He had a tiny bit of a troubled past, so the agreement ended up being that Laura watch over him and decide if he would be worthy of that. Now, I said all of that to say that Andy was actually a pretty amazing big brother throughout the movie. He was sort of a dick when telling his friend about Oliver once, and he sorta kinda almost gets Oliver hospitalized because he makes an immature decision, but other than that, he's pretty great. He obviously really cares for his sister and always checks up on her whenever he can, which is pretty important considering the poor girl is basically blind. He steps in as the father figure since his father was removed from their lives and truly looks out for Piper throughout the movie. And he does so in more ways than I'm even allowed to explain since they'd spoil some major things, but let's just say this boy fights to save her life from some crazy shit at the risk of his own safety. That boy is a goat, and he's really easy to sympathize with and root for despite his flaws. He's just a kid that wants his sister to have the best life he can give her and was forced to grow up way too fast. Piper is adorable and innocent, and she clearly cares for her big brother just as much as he cares for her. She seemed so distraught when she heard that the two of them would have to be split up, so it was nice to see them stay together. She's also, as I said, pretty much blind, so life is already hard enough for her. She manages to stay strong despite this disability and losing her father though, and it makes for an interesting character. Separately, these characters are good, sure, but really it's the dynamic between the two of them that makes them so interesting to follow throughout the entire movie. Then there's Laura, and my god, I hate that bitch. Ooh, I hate that bitch so much. Anyways, Laura. She's the one that adopts the kids, but she's got a twisted secret that gives us the name of the movie. She wants to revive her dead 12-year-old daughter, and there's like this whole convoluted set of tasks she has to do in order to get it to work, but I won't really go too deep into that, but just know some of the stuff is really fucked up. Actually, all of it is. This woman is deranged. I will say that I guess you can kind of sympathize with her because she did lose a child, and what kind of parent wouldn't want to do anything to bring that child back? But listen, when you learn what she does, you'll see why she's the absolute worst. Plus, she constantly tries to frame Andy and make him look like an unfit guardian, and I really can't stand for that. Genuinely, in the best way possible, this is the most frustrating thing about the movie. You get so fucking mad at this woman for the things she does to this kid, and she constantly gets away with it. She works so hard to turn everyone, his sister included, against him, and when it works, you want to strangle the absolute fuck out of this good-for-nothing little bitch. Sorry. She's a good character, but she really pissed me off in this movie. And yeah, that's the point, but I haven't been that angry at a character since watching Joffrey Baratheon in Game of Thrones years ago. And then there's Ollie, who I can't say a whole lot about because of spoilers, but like I said earlier, he's super creepy. You don't really know much about the kid until you get deeper into the movie, but he seems really off. So off, in fact, that Laura often leaves the poor kid locked away in his bedroom. He doesn't speak or emote at all. He just stares blankly at people. There isn't really much more I can say about him other than this, but he's very creepy and clearly a part of Laura's plan somehow. And you can feel it in your gut the whole movie. I won't say it isn't necessarily predictable, but it still leaves you feeling unsettled the whole time. And unsettling really is the perfect way to describe this movie. Like I said, the things that Laura does to these poor kids when they aren't looking is awful, and you're gonna really hate that lunatic. But on top of that, creepy things happen involving Ollie that are just so damn strange. He isn't like a ghost per se. There isn't some evil spiritual entity doing haunting stuff the whole movie. The creepy stuff really comes from the inhuman behavior that Ollie displays sometimes on top of the horrific manipulation that Laura uses. You sit on the edge of your seat just hoping that the kids figure her out and somehow manage to escape her insane plans. This is a horror movie, sure, but it's not really jump scary or going to make you incapable of sleeping at night. It's more of a slower burn suspense film with horror elements in it that leaves you in a constant state of discomfort. And me, personally, I love movies like that. Another thing I appreciate is the character development that everyone goes through in the movie, even if Laura's is less appreciated for reasons I have already said. Everyone seems to learn things about themselves and the people around them over the course of the movie, and everyone better understands each other. And Andy really proves that he's mostly a capable guardian for Piper, or at least he'd be pretty good if he had a little bit of help from someone older. There's also some pretty fun bonding scenes in this movie that make you almost want to like Laura. You already like Piper and Andy, but it does help them out a bit too. But I love those little moments where Laura feels like a normal human being that cares about other people. And I'm sure she is somewhere in there, which is why these scenes exist. I don't think she's entirely faking, and it's why you can't help but appreciate her, at least for certain moments. It gives her character a little more depth than just insane woman who will literally do anything to revive her daughter. This movie is really freaking good until the end, at least for me. So let's get into the only problems I have with this movie. Some of this is going to be a little hard to explain without spoilers, but I'll do my best. Now, this might just be me, but some of the stuff that happens in this movie is really hard to understand and follow. Like, the whole idea of how the revival ritual itself works is sort of confusing. Again, maybe this is just a me thing because they do explain it, but it was a little complicated and that slightly messed up the experience for me. Slightly. My real issue comes with the ending of the movie. And this explanation is going to be pretty brief because, again, I don't want to spoil the movie for you guys. So at the end of the movie, one of our characters is about to get absolutely murdered by another character. All hope seems to be lost. Nothing can be done at all. But then we get what I consider to be a Martha moment. So do you guys remember when in Batman v Superman, Batman was beating the absolute shit out of Superman, and Superman saying he had to save Martha got him to stop? Well, yeah, that's basically what saves this character here. They just say one thing and the other character is suddenly like, oh shit, what am I doing this for? I'm actually good. It just stops and backs away. Then the character in danger sort of just escapes for free because of it. After everything that the characters go through in this movie, seeing someone get out in this way is a little underwhelming. Now, is the moment as bad as the Batman v Superman moment? No, I think it's a bit less forced than that, but it still feels off, at least to me, because the thing that gets said doesn't actually feel all that contextually appropriate given how much time the characters spent with one another. Sure, it was sort of hinted at in the beginning, I guess, but also not really. Overall, the ending feels a bit abrupt too, but it's not necessarily a bad ending. There's some nice set pieces and satisfying moments in it despite my complaints. You're gonna still leave the theater satisfied and also probably a little pissed because, like I said, Laura gets away with some frustrating shit. I really enjoyed this movie and I feel like A24 secured a common W with this one. 8 out of 10.